Chapter 1.4, Part 4. We're looking at Andre Derain's The Turning Road, and this is a Fauvist piece. Fauvism is early 20th century. This is 1906. Matisse is the leader of the Fauves, Henri Matisse. We all know Matisse. He and Derain, decide to use color without tint or tone, and straight out of the tube. Now, in this time period, late 1800s, early 20th century, paint started becoming available in processed tubes. Before this time, you had to make your own paint. Okay, you had to take oil, mix it with pigment or whatever, and make colors. So now we have these tubes that are being made, and the idea of using the paint straight out of the tube without mixing it down into tints and tones was Fauvist, was the idea of rebelling against the Academy. Now the Academy is painting things in a realistic manner, and Derain and Matisse are going not for realism, but for sort of an expression, an expressionistic way of painting. They are not expressionists per se. That's a slightly different genre, but they are Fauvists. So we're going to get into tint and tone a little bit further. Tone is a weaker chromatic state, which doesn't make any sense, really, unless you understand that we're adding black to it. So we're taking some of the color out, we're deadening it, if that makes sense. So it makes it duller, and that is what Matisse, the Fauves, are rebelling against. They're not dulling their colors. A low chroma tone, like a tone, is similar in value to a hue at its most intense state. So a high chroma piece is going to be brighter color. You don't really need all this, but just know that colors become duller when you add black, okay? They become a little bit lighter when you add white, but they're not as high chroma, if that makes sense, unless they're in their pure state. So when you add white or black, you are dulling in terms of the amount of chroma. The chroma is not as high. This is a artwork by Paul Klee. That's how you pronounce this one. That one I'm very clear on. Ancient Sound. Now, what he's trying to do is to document music, and he gets into this. He's a Swiss artist, and he's thinking about the varying tones of green and orange to make associations to sound. Yellow is a brighter, high-pitched sound. The darks would be deeper, lower sounds, if that makes sense. So he was a violinist, and he had some knowledge of music, and also Kandinsky gets into this a little bit too. They're contemporaries, but this is his idea of what a piece of music might look like if he were to paint it. So tonal qualities are associated with sound. And I just went over all this stuff. So he's both. Okay, and sensation of color. Some colors are associated with emotional states. Feeling blue. With our warm and coolness, red is hot. And then also we can see color in an optical illusionistic way. Now I'm going to go back to color temperature. When we think about hot, red, there's a reason for that, and it's much more deeply ingrained in our psyche, in our brain, rather in our DNA, in our primal brain, in our reptilian part of our brain. We see red or yellow or orange, we think fire. And we also think of sun. So we get sort of excited by those colors because when you think about fire, it's a little bit dangerous, it's a dynamic situation. It's not just dangerous, but things happen when there's fire, so we're cautious. When we think about blue, it calms us down because we think of water. Remember what I said about lawns in Los Angeles? So green and blue, not bright green, but like a darker green, blue, purple, of course, those are our cool colors. Okay? Warm colors are going to be red, yellow, orange. Also, previous experience can affect how we think about color, but we do have a very deep-seated association of warm and cool. Now we're going to get into relative colors. Oh, this is a blue piece in a mosque from the Dome of the Rock. I don't really know why the British Museum has this particular artifact, but it's from the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, and it's blue and it's calming. Also, we're in the Dome of the Rock. You're in this interior dome space, and you're trying to have a meditative atmosphere. So you want blue, calming energy from the artwork and the colors within that space. And also, green has positive associations. Again, this is a Islamic culture is mainly in a drier climate, not completely, but that has a sense of peacefulness, because you're thinking gardens are highly regarded in Islamic art, and that is because people are from the desert. Okay, so colors are peaceful, associated with water, plant life, and sky, because we know things are going to be okay. We're going to sustain ourselves. Okay, optical colors. We're going to get into mixing, and I'll probably stop right after this. When we mix these two colors, right, we get purple. There's no purple actually mixed up here, but our brain mixes these two together. This is how the Impressionists and the Pointillists do their magic. They put dots of multiple colors, and you mix them in your own brain. Same thing over here. We have red and we have yellow. A yellow background, red dots, but there is actually no orange there, but we perceive it as orange. Especially if we pull back. If you pull back a little ways, like 3 feet, 4 feet, it's going to shift and turn into a mixed color. So optical mixing happens with Seurat, and he's a pointillist. He's part of the Impressionists, and he's also his own thing. So he broke off, and he decided instead of doing sort of brush strokes and bigger gestures, he does these tiny little dots. And I defy you, or I challenge you rather, to do a pointillist piece on this scale. This is only 6 inches by 4 inches. It's still enough to push you over the edge. It's quite difficult to do. So when he does this, if you notice, these colors are not actually mixed, but in our brain, we mix these colors and we make a deeper, darker shadow right here. But he's just putting dots of color. And this is important. Part of the reason we love Impressionism so much is because we are a part of the process, because we're mixing it in our brain. Okay? So we're going to see that differently. We're going to do the optical mixing. This is really important when you talk about Impressionism. You must mention optical mixing. Okay?